And welcome to another RLW Read, Listen, Watch from Roofers Coffee Shop. My name is Heidi Ellsworth, and we are here today to learn about edge metal and how important it is today in the performance of flat or low slope roofs, and also with everything that's going on with the extreme weather out there. I'm so happy to have you today. Start out with a little bit of housekeeping. This is being recorded, and it will be available within 24 hours for you to use, to share, to really help your company for that next step. Whether that's adding more edge metal, figuring out how it works, or just continuing what you already have with some great information. Also, we do have a chat, speaking of a conversation. So we would love to have you. Oh, the chat is open. Be sure to let us know who you are, what your company is, what you do, commercial, residential, and be sure to ask questions all the way through. So let's get started. This is Edge Metal Advantages, and it is being brought to you by our friends at Mule-Hide. And we have some wonderful guests here. And I would first like to introduce Nick Musel. Nick, welcome to the show.
Good morning, everyone. Nick Musel, Technical Field Manager for Mule-Hide Products. Just a quick little bio about myself. I've been in the roofing industry for 22 years, started off as an installer. I've worked for 2 large manufacturers in my career, proudly now working for Mule-Hide Products. Started off as a field tech representative doing inspections, then worked as a design professional in interior here at Mule-Hide Products. Recently been promoted to Technical Field Manager.
Excellent. Nick, thank you so much. I'm just so excited for this topic today. It's going to be great. And I also am proud to introduce Hank Bonney. And Hank, welcome to the show also. Please tell us about yourself and a little bit about Mule-Hide.
Thanks, Heidi. Good morning, everyone. I'm Hank Bonney. I'm the Mule-Hide Territory Manager for Mule-Hide Products. I've been in the business 38 years, cut my teeth in the fastening technical side, going out testing roof decks to make sure that it secured the roof systems. I also was on the distribution side for 17 and a half years. So I've dealt with just about every product from built up to single plies to modifieds, of course, incorporating a lot of metal. I am responsible today. I've been with Mule-Hide for 9 years. Of those 9 years, I was a field technical inspector along with my sales roles. I train and certify contractors in the proper installation methods of our various roof systems. And I'm so glad to be here to be able to present to you on Metal Edge.
I am so excited. Thank you both so much for being here, and such a great company. Special thanks to Mule-Hide to bring this important topic to the industry. So as a reminder, we are taking questions the entire time. So if you have questions, comments, let us know who you are. The chat is open, and we want to hear from you as we go through. So gentlemen, let's get started. First of all, let's talk about edge metal and why it's important, really kind of the overall world of edge metal. So Nick, can you kind of start us out?
Sure. Well, I mean, one of the key components of any low slope roofing design is how that membrane is attached along the prevailing edge of the building. Typically, what we find is that when we see catastrophic roof failures, it usually starts with the edge metal. So having a well-designed system, pre-manufactured pieces that have been tested in a laboratory, that have been, bent and fabricated in a shop and delivered directly out to the roofing installers. What that does is that helps protect and defend the entire roof system. And critically now with the more increased weather events that we're experiencing is that wind uplift and wind in particular likes to attack the perimeters and corners of buildings, which is where your metal needs to be the strongest. So, at the end of the day, that metal is really holding in place the entire roofing system.
Yeah, and really when you're looking at that, I mean, you think about the extreme weather like we just mentioned earlier, and how important to be able to really get control of wind uplift, which if you have wind uplift, then is water intrusion. So Hank, kind of what are you seeing out in the field on, just how important edge metal, good edge metal done the proper way is important?
By having that manufactured and tested edge metal system, uh, it just gives the security and peace of mind. And by having that security at the edge, you don't have to worry about uh, it blowing off and allowing that water to infiltrate that roof system just by certain criterias, with some of the testing mechanisms that they test to ensure that you are getting a good quality roof system.
Yeah. It's what really makes the whole thing. I mean, it's the part that you have to really make sure that it's going to work. And, and as you're as we're looking at that, I think really that wind uplift is so, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So Hank, talk a little bit about understanding the uplift pressures, all of that. And this is a fabulous picture representing some problems.
Yeah, this one right here, just from the looks of it, without putting a micrometer on there to gauge that metal, it looks like it's a light gauge metal just from the bends in the wind. And they were trying to tie into an existing shingle coming off the flat roof, and just trying to do that. But not having that tested system, you can see the end results of what occurred, that allowed, by that metal being lifted and not having a good continuous, cleat. We always, when we're doing edge metal, we want the cleat to be at least 1 gauge heavier than the edge metal that's being attached. And having, those tested components would certainly lead precedence through a manufactured and tested system to prevent or at least minimize the extensiveness of damage. As far as pressures, from Nick's background, I'm going to let Nick speak more to the design pressures that are stated through the different, testing associations.
Thanks, Hank. Will do. So obviously, we all know in the industry that there are a lot of different organizations that take a look at design pressures and wind uplift. Of course, the most familiar we're used to dealing with is ANSI SPRI, ES1. Testings for edge metals and low slope roofing. You go back and you look at this. ANSI SPRI was looking at wind pressures and design pressures all the way back in the mid 90s. Another organization that takes a lot of look at this is of course ASCII. The ASCII 7-16. It's all the way up to ASCII 7-22 now. American Society for Civil Engineers. And then what happens is that we have other organizations such as Factory Mutual, FM, Roof Global. You have your Miami-Dade pressures, even your Florida product approval. So it's important for when designing these roofs to understand the criteria. And in different parts of the country, you'll get different wind pressures. It's a lot more difficult designing roofs for let's say Miami, Florida, than it is for middle of the Midwest United States. And so the advantage of going with a manufacturer's metal versus, let's say, just bending metal in your shop is that that manufacturer also has to go through the same testing criteria. They design their metal to withstand or exceed those design pressures, and then they fabricate it in a shop by a machine, so it eliminates any potential for human error in the fabrication process. So what happens is it makes it easier for the roofing installers to get a product that they know is specifically rated to stand up to those pressures.
Yeah. And what we're seeing out there right now, when you talk about Miami-Dade, I mean, obviously we've had these kind of hurricanes and extreme weather for many, many years, but we're seeing it sliding both coasts, sliding across, like you said. And so, Nick, just to kind of take that a little bit further on, as contractors are really understanding wind uplift, they really do need to be very aware of their region and what's required within that region, because it's going to be different everywhere, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Different parts of the country. And the other thing to keep in mind, Heidi, is that so when a manufacturer provides a warranty for the roof, typically, well, not even just typically, if the metal is not provided from the manufacturer, the only thing really being warranted on that roof is the membrane itself. The metal is not covered unless it specifically comes from the manufacturer. When you think about it, that probably at least 60% of roof failures originate at the edge metal. It becomes critical to understand that if you want your roof protected from, that warranty protected by the manufacturer, it has to include the metal as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and you were, as you were talking about these standards, let's go a little bit deeper. There's a lot of standards on the roof that deal with edge metal, but also some safety. So can you kind of talk to those important industry standards around that? Nick.
Sure, absolutely. So obviously, one of the key things for all of us working in the roofing industry is working safely, right? And this goes, obviously we're all aware of, OSHA and their requirements, but also the requirement that, at the end of the day, you want everyone to go home safe. This photo here, it's a great illustration. The guys are harnessed off, they're tied off. So we know that they're working with good safety restraints. We can see that that the cleat is being installed prior to the skirted metal they're installing there. ES1, as I kind of alluded to earlier, has been around at least since the mid to late 90s, and it really started with ANSI SPRY. ANSI, the American National Standards Institute, and SPRY, we're all familiar with, Single Ply Roofing Institute, really spearheaded that sort of testing that leads the industry today. GT1 is a fairly relatively new and additional way of looking at edge metal. GT1, and it starts to look at the gutter and how the gutter is designed, because of course as we get further and further along in our industry, we start to identify where roofs fail at, and now we're finding that roofs, not just with the edge metal, but roofs are starting to fail with the gutter edge as well. So the industry standards really reflect all of those components now.
Yeah. When, I've just been hearing so much about GT1, like you said early, and just the importance of gutters, and the gutters not taking off the edge metal as it's going. So Hank, what are you seeing in adoption from the contractors out there around understanding ES1 and GT1?
The reason behind these is, one, when you get it through a manufacturer, the manufacturer gives that edge-to-edge metal warranty. When it's shop fabricated metal, the roofing contractors take it on a huge liability that I just don't think that they fully grasp or comprehend the magnitude if the roof fails at that metal edge, and it's deemed that as a result of the metal, water infiltrated the roof system because of not proper testing through a shop fabricated metal, that the manufacturer could potentially not stand behind as a result of the metal being lifted up and water infiltrate. So that's why it's so important, and we're learning more and more about this process, which gives the building owner peace of mind. They know that the manufacturer is standing behind the entire warranty from edge to edge, and we're seeing a turn. Architectural communities are starting to spec, meeting ANSI SPRY ES1 criteria, and Nick can chime in, but I think today there's approximately 22 states that have adopted that GT1 for gutters. Because what happens is the edge metal is tied in with the gutter comes in, then you've got your drip edge, that comes down on top of the gutter. And if the gutter lifts up, it lifts the edge metal. And then all of a sudden you've got, a roof failure in progress as a result of the metal edge failing.
And to Hank's point, I think we could probably see that GT1 is just going to continue to become the standard across the entire United States.
Yeah, and this is for, just to clarify for everyone, this is for all sizes of gutters, whether they are your more standard or your extra large gutters. They're all following within that GT1 or need to standard, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay, so with that in mind, let's talk just a little bit about manufacturer made edge metal versus shop fabricated. And Hank, you really kind of started on this, and I think it's really important for contractors to understand, that even if they are manufacturing their own, they would need to get ES1 certified, whereas manufacturer made, it's ready to go. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, there are some shops that have, been tested to meet the ANSI SPRY. But however, even though their shop is tested, and certified to meet that ANSI SPRY ES one, if they still make it in their shop and the manufacturer doesn't supply that metal, we don't include that in our warranty. So that's why it's so important to go through a manufacturer. And plus, with the way the labor pool has gotten, or I should say dwindled or diminished, it just takes a lot of the labor, which is your most costly entity out there, not only for metal, but the entire roof installation. It just gives you peace of mind and tested, where once it arrives, it comes already with the fasteners. We will ask, what substrate you're going to be securing into, so that we know what types of fasteners, whether it's going into wood, whether it's going into masonry, whether it's going into metal, we have the right fastener and it's slotted so that there's no guesswork where to place your fasteners. And on our website, we not only offer, estimating sheets to make your job easier when it comes to actually putting, your lineal footage, your corners are what we call traditionally miters, splice plates. All of this is inclusive. Plus, we have installation guides on the Mule-Hide website, which is, www.mulehide.com. Makes it real easy to go through and figure out these items to make your job easier, as far as ease of ordering, ease of processing and quoting. Just so when it arrives on the job site, it's just real simple and easy to install. So it takes the guesswork out of the contractors in the field. Our job is to make your job easier and try to maximize your profits.
And it saves, like you said, it saves on labor, which is
correct,
which is so critical in today's workforce.
Time is money.
Time is money, and putting it there. So Nick, as you're kind of talking, as we're talking about this with the warranties and the technical side of it, and you're looking at all the different types of metal, edge metal there are, whether, from gutters to copings to all the different, maybe talk a little bit about how that's going to, really create a difference between shop fabricated and manufacturer made.
Sure, absolutely. Well, the first key component again is looking for that edge to edge warranty, right? So that every roof component is covered underneath the warranty. Again, we know that wind, severe weather events, it likes to attack the perimeters and corners. It's the weakest point of the building. thereby being the weakest point, we need to make it the strongest, you know. And how do we do that? Well, we do that with good quality metal that's been fabricated, you know, you know, by the manufacturer. They, as to Hank's point, we send it out. It's already pre-measured. We actually provide most of our metals. We actually provide in a 12-foot wide lengths, you know, pre-punched out fastener holes, so that the roofer knows it takes the guesswork out of how to install this metal. You know, and it takes it saves in labor too. So instead of having to bend and fabricate and sort of work around that, we're sending it directly out to the crews. The crews can install it right in the field. It just makes for a universally good install at probably the weakest point of the entire roof.
And you know, one of the things I think about as we talk through this too is that contractors are, you know, they may have their own shops where they're making it, but they may also be buying it from other sheet metal shops in their area, or they're buying it through distribution and manufacturers, with the whole system. And so again, I know we've kind of hit on this already, but when you are really working on a project that large and you're working with your manufacturer, to be able to get all of the elements and make sure that they're all under that single warranty, you know, talk about some of the considerations that they may be needing to make through that decision making process. Nick?
Sure. You know, and the other thing to what you're describing there, Heidi, is how is the metal rated, right?
Mhm.
Is it going to stand up to certain wind codes? You know, all of our manufactured metal will meet FM Global. It will meet Miami-Dade code. We have certain of our metals, if installed with the correct cleat and coping, can achieve up to 120 mile per hour wind speed warranty. And that's typically the highest wind speed warranty that any manufacturer provides, both for membrane and the metal. So again, what we're sort of looking at is a very robust edge metal condition that we know is going to stand up to extreme weather conditions.
And you know, and I know we touched on this before, but I think it is really important to, and maybe Hank to clarify this too, that to get the ES1, to meet the ES1 standard, you have to make sure that it was manufactured correctly to that ES1, and not everyone can
Correct.
do that.
That's correct. You know, it's a combination of cleats and metal that you know, allow it to lock into place to give it the strength and rigidness that it can withstand and support, you know, certain categories of winds coming through. Of course, you know, when you get to Cat 5 hurricanes, or you get to you know, uh, uh, EF threes and above in tornadic activities, you know, nature, you know, you've got acts of gods that, you know, are just beyond, you know, anybody's comprehension of the power of these. And, you know, not that, you start wondering if the building's going to withstand, never mind, you know, the edge metals or the roof system. But, you know, if we can at least minimize damage up to a certain level of wind speed, you know, that just takes, you know, a lot of that liability and guesswork out of those contractor metal shops trying to figure out, you know, how are we going to secure this metal, and is it going to stay on at certain winds. This has all been tested through the manufacturer, you know, in this case, you know, being Mule-Hide with our edge metal systems, that takes, you know, that, you know, peace of mind to the building owner, peace of mind to our installing contractors. It just, you know, gives everybody, you know, security that the metal's going to perform.
Well, and speaking of that, as you look at, you know, again, another great image, but as you really look at what you were talking about with the types of products, you know, how to put all this together, Hank, can maybe kind of continue with us on the not one size fits all. I think that's a interesting comment, and how you can really work with your manufacturer.
Absolutely. Sometimes you just run into different substrates and applications. You might just have a flat roof that you're looking at, just coming up with the drip edge, whether it's, a Kynar coated metal or whether you're installing, a TPO or PVC roof system where you may want to go with a coated metal. We make PVC as well as TPO clad coated metal that is weldable. We even make it with the TPO or PVC skirt already attached to the metal. What, joy is that? Just fastening and using your robotic welder to weld that right to your field sheet. It's
Talk about
just
a labor saver right there.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's just a joy. Or you run into parapet walls where you got to go with the coping. But the other thing that you face with copings is various size walls, and you're transitioning from a 12-inch to an 18-inch or down to a 6-inch. Then you're worried about transition miters. And we come up with other things that we can attach to the wood fascia without having to go with the remaining piece of metal across the wall and down the back leg. We offer a product called Eclipse Edge, which is, you've got a cleat, you've got, the um, metal face or plate that goes over top, various colors that you can snap on, and you just seal the back edge of that cleat with our JTS1 joint and termination sealant. And, we've got snap copings, we've got radius copings. So there's just so many varieties that we can offer. And you're not having to change your gear, your metal shop to do that, because we've got, all the tools and equipment to give you a tested and a very nice, attractive metal edge that you can be proud of. And I think last time I checked, we've got 39 different colors to offer. So we can match any kind of characteristic that the building has as far as color schemes.
That's excellent. And that's what you need as you're kind of trying to put all this together from an architectural view, but also having the performance. Nick, talk a little bit about all the different products too that technically are needed, but that you can provide.
Oh, sure. I mean, and just kind of following up on Hank, I mean, we can do a standard coping, we can do an eclipse edge, we can do, arc radius copings. We have skirted drip edge metal, we have standard drip edge metal. One of the other neat things that we can do is on really difficult to measure jobs, we can send out a crew out there with a measuring device that can precisely measure the dimensions for your coping so that you're getting the right metal at the right time. The worst thing to do, of course, is maybe have sort of imperfect metal measurements, and then time is wasted. Time is always a key component to installing these roofs. So if we can provide that precise measurement so that you're getting the right metal at the right time, right there again, it eliminates the guesswork and it makes it easier for the crew to install the material.
Yeah, and you're also looking for a variety. Let's talk just a little bit about the overall other uses for metal on the roof. I know you were talking earlier about 10 feet compared to 12-foot sheets and how that works. Can you share some of that?
Sure. I mean, we have over, probably 24 different metal edge products that we can offer for any solution, essentially for any roof out there. Really that's again the advantage of going to a manufacturer is instead of trying to have to bend this all in your shop, we have pre-made material. And to Hank's point as well, right? So if you've got really intricate corner miter details, we have, pre-measured out, splice plates and corner plates. Again, the idea is twofold: is we want to eliminate the guesswork for the installation, and two, we want to make it as easy as possible for the installing crew.
So as understanding the products where they're at, and then you definitely get into estimating, right? So
Mhm.
you're going to have estimating salespeople on here, estimators on here, owners who possibly are saying, okay, I need to make sure I'm getting this all in the right estimate and in the comparisons of what we've been talking about. So Hank, talk a little bit about using technical experts on the job site and how that can really help estimators and the contractors.
Well, having our technical experts that have been dealing with metal, for as long as I can remember, just having them go out to the sites in unison with your team or your estimating team to show them, how they go about doing the field measurements, figuring inside, outside miters or corners. People call them different things, but I've been in the business so long that you're so used to, if you drill down, you ask the questions, you get to the heart of what they're actually looking for. We can really hone in and make sure that you're getting all the pieces and components that you need. So many people remember to order coping and the cleat, but they forget that for each joint of metal you got a splice plate to seal to make sure that you don't have water getting in between those joints. And then of course using butyl tape to seal that to prevent the water from coming in when you snap say like a coping down on top. You run into that. We offer anywhere from 24 gauge metal all the way through various sizes of aluminums. You've got the 032s, you've got the 040s, you've got the 050s, you got the 063s. So we've got various types of metal, and a lot of times you'll see specifiers requesting 050 or 063. Well, when you get into that heavier gauge metal, sometimes you'll see that they ask for 3 coats instead of 2 coats. That may be something that's missed in the estimating point, but that could be a costly thing. So that's where the expertise can guide us through, because a lot of that is post coated. Because of that heavy metal, you can't put the coating on because it'll break while you're doing all your bends. So that's where post coating comes in with these kind of coated types of metal. And by having that expert there, he's going to safeguard so that you're covered on all your costs.
That makes total sense. And understanding, I mean, you have your expert on the metal edge, but it also goes into the whole system too, because you're working with one manufacturer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Nick, you were talking about the technology of that you can come out and actually get measurements. That's a great new technology. I'm aware of it. Kind of talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I've only seen it being used once or twice, but it really is a neat piece of equipment. They've got a gauge that literally will run along the entire coping of a building and will measure, digitally save the information into a program. The precision of this is just unbelievable. And at the end of the day, again, one of the advantages of going to a manufacturer is that as Mule-Hide provides, is we really become the one-stop shop, right? You get your membrane from us, you get your accessories from us, now you get our metal from us, you get the complete package to install that roof. And at the end of the day, you get that that edge to edge warranty. And that's really what a lot of building owners are now starting to look for.
And, it's not easy to hire, whether it's out on the roof or whether it's estimators or salespeople, whoever it may be in your companies. The labor pool is getting smaller. There's just no question
Right.
about that.
Mhm.
And being able to have this kind of technical expertise really allows the productivity of your estimators to increase where you may not need as many. Nick?
Yeah. Correct. Absolutely.
Mhm.
And you might not need as many, laborers on the ground installing the metal because it's already pre-manufactured. It just the ease of it, it provides, that solution for that good roof, which is the win for everyone, right? It's a win for the installers, win for the manufacturer, and it's a win for the building owner.
Hank, as you are looking at working with the contractors in the field, what is
Mhm.
some of the feedback you're hearing specifically on the technical support, measurements, eliminating that guesswork? What are you hearing from your contractors?
Some of the various suggestions that we've given to them, and I actually had one recent job that they weren't aware that we had girded edge metal. He goes, I just saved him a ton of labor by offering that. Pre-punched holes already. It took the guesswork out where he needed to place the fasteners. He goes, he had never been exposed to anything like that. It just made it so much easier for him. And that's just one example of many. Our Eclipse edge where you didn't have to worry about because from the ground it looks like coping metal, but you're not paying for that extra metal. So we gave an option. You didn't have to worry about different sizes of coping. So it kept everything uniform. You're fastening it to the face, you're doing a clip, and then it snaps into place. So you not only got, a good ANSI spray ES FM assembled system, you've got protection of Mule-Hide warrant in it from edge to edge. And that's what gives your clients and your building owners just peace of mind, knowing that the manufacturer's got them covered from the edge, which starts at the metal, right on into the entire roof system. And it just makes it so much more simplistic for our roofing customer contractor base to be able to offer this entity to their clients and takes the liability out of their hands and puts it on us, Mule-Hide, because we are offering that tested system.
Yeah, and
Well, and when oh, go ahead, Heidi.
no, go ahead.
The other thing to keep in mind is that when we eliminate the potential for human error, we get a better product at the end of the day. So when we talk about that in our single ply systems, we look at, like, let's say our EPDMs where we have a factory applied tape. So it's already factory applied. It eliminates the possibility for error. When we look at heat welded systems now, everyone is doing it with a robotic welder. Again, we're eliminating that potential for human error. So when you get that metal that's manufactured in the plant by the manufacturer, it's pre-measured and estimated on the job site, gets sent out to the job sites to the crew. Again, you're eliminating that potential for human error.
Yeah. Uh, and we're seeing this, the more automation that's coming, it's really differentiating contractors who are able to use it and to
Right.
use prefabbed. So as we're kind of talking through that, let's continue down this road with installation best practices. So Nick, I know Mule-Hide has amazing training. Let's talk about that and what are some of those opportunities and best practices that you can help offer.
Sure, absolutely. Well, right now, Mule-Hide has 3 great training facilities. We have one here in Beloit, Wisconsin, where we're headquartered at. We have one located in New Jersey and one down in Orlando, Florida. We're talking about building another one in Denver, Colorado. These are great places to bring your team in, bring your crew in, and learn from the experts, the correct way to install these materials on the roof. As we start to look at more and more edge-to-edge metal roof systems, we are going to begin including training in metal and how to install that on the roof properly. Again, the goal is that we want to make everything as seamless as possible, if you pardon the pun, for the installers, because we want every roof to be a success.
And talk a little bit about the calculators. I mean, Hank, can you talk? I mean, you guys have some great calculators that can really help people understand what's going on.
Absolutely. That ES1 calculator, it is located on our website. If you go to Mule-Hide, www.mulehide.com, when you go to the top of the page, once you come to the main landing page of our website, go to the top of the page where it says resources. Click on that. You're going to find numerous items that you can click on. One of them is the ES1 calculator, and that will ask for some information, your municipality that you're in. It'll ask about certain criteria. Once you input that information, it will tell you what's required in that area to meet that ES1 category for your roof metal system in that area. It's an amazing item. And also on our website, just go into the top of the page where it says roofing. You click on that, you can scroll on down to single plies. It'll get into coatings, it'll get into our modified bitumen. But since we're on metal, if you scroll further down, you're going to see edge metal. You click on that, then you can go and it'll expand out to larger areas like our drip edge, our coping, our two-piece compression metal. It will get into basically it will get into counter flashings and reglets. It will get into radius copings. It will get into eclipse edge. So you can go into all of these, and we even have under the marketing category, under documents, if you go in, it'll give you estimating worksheets. That's your template to be able to input information and send it to your Mule-Hide territory manager for processing your quotes. And we turn those around in a very timely fashion. I think the average time for turning around a quote is roughly 38 to 40 minutes. That's amazing in itself.
Yeah.
To be able to turn the quotes that quick. So there's a lot of information on this website. And the neat thing is we have installation videos for many of our products that make it so much easy to walk through step by step. And even at the top of our webpage, if you go to where it says English, click on that, it will flip the whole category over into Spanish, Espanol. So you can see videos in Spanish, you can see details, data sheets, installation, specifications, all of this in Spanish.
That is great. And let's talk just a little bit about the fasteners. Fasteners were, they were like jewels during the material shortage to try to get fasteners. But now with what you're doing, and we saw earlier pictures, you're already telling people fasteners, how to use it, how many. So it gets very detailed. Nick, talk to us a little bit about, how that can help the contractors.
Well, it eliminates error, right? And at the end of the day, that's what we want to do. We want to eliminate the potential for error. Mule-Hide has a whole resource of materials on our website, like Hank was talking about, speaking specifically to the types of fasteners used in a different substrate, the minimum amount of fastener penetration into those substrates. Again, what we're looking for is the correct way of attaching the metal so that it can resist those larger wind events. And of course, there's a whole host of fasteners that can be used, whether you're drilling into a wood nailer or into a brick or a block wall, or if you're drilling into a metal deck. So all of this information is readily available on our website. It's also accessible if you reach out to our technical team as well. Like most manufacturers' websites, we have so many products that we offer that it can be overwhelming for the initial user to jump on there and try to find, exactly what they're looking for. So Mule-Hide provides both an internal and external technical team that is willing to help guide the individual installer towards the right product.
Another thing to add to what Nick stated is on our estimating sheets, it will ask you the substrate that you're attaching to. That way we know what type of fasteners to send with your metal package, knowing what you're installing to, whether it's wood, whether it's metal, whether it's masonry. So it takes the guesswork right on out of your hands, and just everything's ready to go and be installed upon receipt of your metal package at the job sites.
That's excellent. And I know we've talked a little bit about the Eclipse Edge throughout this whole presentation, but just to kind of give us a summary here when it comes to installation best practices using the Eclipse Edge, Nick, why? How does that help?
Well, I mean, sort of what Hank was saying. So one, you're saving on metal because the Eclipse Edge really is it's sort of a fascia fastening metal, gives the appearance of a full coping cap without having to spend the additional money. It's an easy product to use. You install your cleat, you snap in the Eclipse Edge, and you just have to do on the back edge facing towards your roof. You apply, a single bead of our JTS1 joint termination sealant. The other thing is that Eclipse Edge is rated through Factory Mutual. It's rated through Miami-Dade. It has design pressures. It can even, if installed per spec and code, achieve that 120 mile per hour warranted wind speed. So it's just a universally easy product to use that provides everything that a building owner is looking for on their drip edge.
Excellent. You guys are making it too easy on the contractors here.
That's the whole job.
That's the whole idea.
point there, Heidi.
So, and we just kind of answered our question right here for this slide, but to why buy edge metal through a manufacturer? Well, number one, to make it easy. But let Nick, why don't you start us off on this kind of the manufacturer's role and just that bigger picture?
Sure. The manufacturer's role again is to eliminate the guesswork. If you go to these factories, if you go to these plants, they actually have wind uplift tables that they design and they test their metal at. So they know the point of failure for the metal. They know what the metal can provide. So right there, you're getting that peace of mind knowing that you're having a guaranteed warranted material that you're going to install on the roof system.
And Hank, what are some of the advantages? I mean, let's just summarize them up. We've been talking about them through this hour, but kind of the overall advantages of purchasing from manufacturers.
Well, you've got consistent performance of the roof system. Time tested, proven, they've tested it in various wind tunnel type testing to know, what wind speeds it's going to perform in. And once you've achieved that, that, everything is going to meet, all the criteria that you're running into by having the cleats and securement of the roof system. And you've got a lot of variables through shop fabricated, from fasting placement to knowing that you've got to use a heavier gauge metal for the cleat, 1 gauge heavier than you would your actual metal cover that you go on. So it's just basically taking all of that guesswork out and just knowing that you've got a metal edge system that's going to perform time and time again.
We have a great question that just came in from Daniel. Thank you, Daniel, so much. And it says, is there currently a publicly available directory that is relatively easy to use that lists the products and their level of performance so end users such as estimators, contractors, code officials, architects, consultants, etc. have access? And this would be for edge metal and gutter systems.
Yep, we do. We currently have an edge metal accessory guide. If we haven't fully updated it now, we're currently updating it to reflect just a stronger edge metal system we now provide, but it is readily available on our website. In the upper right-hand toolbar, if you just type in edge metal and hit enter, it's going to provide you a list of documents down below, and the accessory guide would speak to all of the products we offer.
And I'm not sure about this, so forgive me if I'm wrong on this, but there is a directory I know in the single ply world through Spry called Dora, Dora. And we do have Dora on as a directory on Roofers Coffee Shop where you can find out more information. But maybe Nick or Hank, you know this, but I'm not sure if they have edge metal in Dora at this point or not.
I'm
Not that
not.
I'm aware of.
Yeah,
Okay.
not that I'm aware of either. Typically, when I used to do internal review and looking at edge metal, I would actually go to FM Global. All of the
Mhm.
metals are listed on FM Global and provide the maximum design pressures for the edge metal system. And also, if you get into FM enough and you start, typing in the criteria for the building you're looking at, it'll start to speak to zones 4 and 5, which is exterior edge metal and cladding. So it'll actually tell you the design pressures you need for a specific roof or building system. And then you just need to match that up against a provided metal product also listed. And then of course just meet or exceed that design pressure. So these metals are listed.
In FM. Okay.
Mhm.
And it looks like Daniel says Spry is working on possibly adding this to Dora. I thought I heard that at the last Spry meeting. So thank you,
Yep.
Daniel. I thought that was possibly happening. Um, Excellent. Okay, Nick, disadvantages. So I never want to leave anything on a negative. I always like the
Yep.
positive, but I
Yep.
think it is important to just, kind of point out some of the risk. And so let's call this risk mitigation
Yeah.
of not purchasing through a manufacturer. Let's summarize that.
Sure. You're essentially assuming responsibility for the part of the entire roof that's going to experience the most amount of wind events. So the wind likes to attack corners. It likes to attack perimeters and edges of the building. If you rely upon a manufactured metal or fabricated metal, you are assuming all of the liability. And once that metal starts going, it takes the whole roof system with it.
It is. It's crazy. And I want to say, everyone, please, now's the time for questions. Please let us know if you have any questions or comments as we're working on this. But Hank, kind of to Nick's point, summarizing just the risk that contractors take from not.
Well, I know I can speak for Nick and all of us that, all of our roofing contractors are our friends. We take a vested interest in their livelihood. They're trying to provide for their families. We don't want them taking this burden on their shoulder of doing shop fabricated metal that could create a potential risk and liability that they don't need to assume just by, sliding that metal over to a manufacturer that has, tested and proven that's, going to meet the NC Spry ES1 FM and just give them and their building owners and clients not only a better performing roofing system, but a roofing system that's going to last with manufactured made metal.
And some labor savings.
Huge labor savings.
Huge labor savings.
Saves them having to shop break all of that.
Yes. And I mean, and kind of on that note, as you're saying, we know that there are some amazing contractors out there with great shops and who are ES1 approved or to that standard and who are working together with their manufacturers to make sure everything's right. But this really is the future of looking at how contractors can put whole systems together, limit their risk, and also save on labor. So a lot of advantages.
Well, we're also seeing a lot more specifications calling for manufactured edge metal
Okay.
through your system manufacturer because the architectural and specifying community is realizing, the importance of tested and meeting that criteria of the NC Spry ES1 or the GT1 that's starting to go, all across the nation. So we just see it growing more and more each year.
All the time. So I would, if you have any last questions, please share them in the chat or any comments that we can share. We would love to do that. Hank, let's talk a little bit about next steps. Oh, wait, we have a question first. Can Mule-Hide supply custom shaped ANSI Spry ES1 metal edge assemblies? If so, is there a fee associated with that? Hank?
From the assemblies, I know that we have installation guides. I know that we've got, estimating sheets. I don't, that one might be more suited towards Nick from the technical aspect if we have an assembly for that at this time.
Sure. If you start to really dig into, and we're going to eventually provide all of this information on our website as well, all of these metals have a specific design pressure to, and again, ANSI Spry is really the testing to determine if an edge metal can meet the certain uplift. How we sort of factor that into the industry then is looking at the design pressure. So we do know that if we take certain metals, we install it with the correct gauge of cleat, that it's going to achieve a certain design pressure.
So this would be, and thank you, Elvedin. Hope I said your name right. So much for that question. We can connect you with Mule-Hide to kind of go through that and talk about what exact assembly you're looking for as we're going through that. So great question. And I was just going to say too, and I think you just answered it, but what's the next step? So for listeners out there who are interested in starting to work through these systems and work with the full edge metal and work with the team, how do they get a hold of you, Hank?
It's real easy to reach out to me. You can either email me at hank.bonney, just like the name shows there, hank.bonney, Bonney, at mulehide.com. Also, I'm easily accessible through my cell phone number, which is 704-201-1054. I welcome any and all calls, and just feel free to reach out to me at any time. We're always willing to help. I do also. Heidi mentioned about our training program, and Nick alluded to 3 current centers. I'm getting ready to go to Beloit, one of our training centers, to do training next week, and then 2 weeks later, I'm down in Orlando, Florida, our other training center, doing a contractor training. So, we're training all the time. I've done a ton of training already this year.
I love it. We have time just for this one last question. And can you provide a brief overview of Mule-Hide's involvement with Rikawi and IBHS on severe weather-related low-slope roof damages? Nick?
Well, I'll be honest, you caught me a little flat-footed here. That's one of the few acronyms that I'm actually not not intimately familiar with. I will say that when I used to work in Mule-Hide's internal review department here, our technical service admin department, that looking at severe weather events typically means looking at increased either design wind speed or warranted wind speed, and we provide criteria for both. Again, typically I think we would look at individual locations around the country, and there are different testing criteria that shows the 10, 15, or 20-year wind speeds, and we look at how strong we want to design that roof system for. From there, we go into different sort of online calculators and get those design pressures. Usually, though, that should come from sort of a design professional, such as an architect or a consultant. And what we try to do is we try to match up those design pressures against, the tested assemblies that we provide through our different metal offerings.
Perfect. And Daniel, Rikawi and IBHS are both on Roofers Coffee Shop. I'm pretty sure you're already very familiar with them, but Rikawi being the roofing on, I can never say the acronym right, but basically on hail and wind and extreme weather events. And they work closely with IBEC, and then IBHS, which is the insurance builders. And again, I'm sorry, I'm not going to say the acronym right, but they both great organizations. Daniel, thank you so much. Great organizations, and I'll be sure to get the information over to you all, and we'll share it around. It's all in the directories of Roofers Coffee
Yeah, and I'll
Shop.
jump in real quick, Heidi, just to add then. So yeah, hail and wind, we definitely provide system specific warranties for that. Mule-Hide does. Typically for hail, you're looking at thicker and thicker gypsum type cover boards, typically adhered with an adhered membrane system. Wind, again, we start looking at design pressures and how that affects the complete overall assembly of the roof system.
That is great. And thank you. Thank you, everyone, for the questions. Nick, Hank, what a great overview. We just had a nice comment. Thank you very much. This was very informative. Thank you so much for being a part of this RLW and sharing all of your information and wisdom. It was great. Thank you.
It's been a
Thanks,
pleasure.
Heidi.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll be back again at the end of next month. Be sure to check out our next RLW and all of the RLWs on Roofers Coffee Shop, where you can watch them on demand. You can read them, you can listen to them, or you can watch them. Have a great day, and we'll be seeing you again soon. Thank you.